What if the greatest mysteries aren't hidden in distant galaxies, but buried beneath the sand and concrete of our own world? What if the answers we seek have been there all along, waiting in the silence, guarded by those who know too much to speak? Where are you listening from tonight? And what time is it there in your world? I'm grateful you're here to share this journey into the mysteries that lie hidden beneath the desert stars. Now, let's begin. The year was 1955, and America needed a way to see beyond the Iron Curtain. The Soviet Union had become an enigma, wrapped in secrecy. Its military capabilities hidden behind thousands of miles of restricted territory. Traditional reconnaissance aircraft couldn't fly high enough or far enough to penetrate Soviet airspace undetected. What the Central Intelligence Agency needed was something revolutionary, something that could soar above the reach of enemy fighters and surface-to-air missiles. The answer came in the form of the U-2, a glider-like aircraft with wings so long and delicate, it seemed to defy the very concept of military hardware. But this graceful machine needed a place to be born, tested, and perfected in absolute secrecy. The search for that perfect location led a small team of CIA operatives and Lockheed engineers deep into the Nevada desert, following dirt roads that seemed to lead nowhere. They found what they were looking for beside a dry lake bed called Groom Lake, nestled between barren mountains in a valley so remote it felt like the edge of the world. The lake bed was perfectly flat, a natural runway carved by ancient waters and polished by desert winds. More importantly, it was invisible to prying eyes, surrounded by restricted military land that kept curious civilians at a safe distance. Colonel Osman Ritland, the Air Force officer, tasked with evaluating potential sites, stood on that empty lake bed in the summer heat and knew they had found their sanctuary. The nearest town was tiny Alamo, Nevada, more than 60 miles away. The nearest city, Las Vegas, might as well have been on another planet. Here in this forsaken landscape, America's most sensitive aviation projects could take shape without fear of discovery. The decision was made swiftly and quietly. The CIA would lease the land from the Atomic Energy Commission, which already controlled the vast Nevada test site. Construction began almost immediately, with workers flown in from distant cities, sworn to secrecy, and transported to the site in aircraft with blacked-out windows. They built runways, hangars, and support facilities with remarkable speed, transforming the empty desert into a functional airbase in a matter of months. The base had no official name at first. Maps showed nothing but empty desert. Workers simply called it the Ranch, or Paradise Ranch, a sardonic reference to the harsh conditions and isolation. Only later would it acquire the designation that would make it famous around the world: Area 51, a mundane bureaucratic label that would become synonymous with mystery and speculation. From the beginning, security was paramount. The base was surrounded by restricted airspace that extended in all directions, creating an invisible dome of forbidden territory. Warning signs were posted miles away from the actual facility, threatening prosecution for anyone who dared to approach. Guard posts were established at every possible entrance, manned by personnel whose instructions were simple: no one gets through, no questions asked. The workers who built Area 51 were an interesting mix of military personnel, civilian contractors, and Lockheed employees. Many had worked on classified projects before, but nothing quite like this. They lived in temporary housing, worked long shifts in brutal heat, and maintained absolute silence about their activities. The psychological pressure was intense, but it was also oddly exhilarating. They were building something unprecedented, something that would change the course of history. As construction neared completion in the spring of 1956, the first U-2 prototype arrived at Groom Lake. Watching that elegant aircraft take to the desert sky for the first time, the assembled engineers and test pilots knew they had achieved something remarkable. The U-2 could fly at altitudes exceeding 70,000 feet, far above the reach of any Soviet interceptor. It was a triumph of engineering and ingenuity, born in the secrecy of the Nevada desert. But even as the U-2 program took flight, those involved couldn't have imagined how their remote testing facility would evolve. What began as a practical solution to a Cold War intelligence problem had created something more significant, a place where the impossible could be made real, where the boundaries of technology could be pushed beyond all recognition, and where secrets would accumulate like desert sand, layer upon layer, year after year. The birth of Area 51 was quiet, methodical, and purposeful. Yet in that quiet beginning lay the seeds of mysteries that would captivate the world for decades to come. In the summer of 1956, something strange began appearing in the skies over America. Commercial airline pilots, flying their regular routes at altitudes between 20 and 30,000 feet, started reporting encounters with metallic objects floating impossibly high above them. These objects gleamed silver in the sunlight, moving with purpose across the deep blue sky at altitudes no known aircraft could reach. The reports were consistent and troubling. Experienced pilots, men who had flown through war and peace, described seeing disc-like shapes or elongated objects that seemed to hover motionless before accelerating beyond the horizon at tremendous speed. Air traffic controllers received frantic radio calls from cockpits, describing encounters with craft that defied every known principle of aviation. What these pilots were witnessing, though they could never have known it, were the first operational flights of the U-2 spy plane from its secret base at Groom Lake. The revolutionary aircraft was performing exactly as designed, soaring at altitudes between 60 and 70,000 feet, more than twice as high as any commercial airliner. From below, catching glimpses of sunlight reflecting off its polished aluminum skin, the U-2 appeared otherworldly. The timing couldn't have been more perfect for the birth of the modern UFO phenomenon. In 1947, just 9 years earlier, a civilian pilot named Kenneth Arnold had reported seeing 9 crescent-shaped objects flying in formation near Mount Rainier in Washington state. His description of their movement, like saucers skipping across water, had given birth to the term flying saucer. Now, as U-2 flights became more frequent, sightings of unidentified objects in American skies multiplied dramatically. The Central Intelligence Agency found itself in a delicate position. The U-2 program was among the most classified operations in American history, vital to national security at the height of the Cold War. Yet every flight risked exposure through pilot reports and civilian sightings. The solution they arrived at was as ingenious as it was deceptive. Rather than deny the sightings outright, they would encourage alternative explanations. Project Blue Book, the Air Force's official UFO investigation program, became an unwitting accomplice in this campaign of misdirection. When commercial pilots reported seeing metallic objects at impossible altitudes, Blue Book investigators would suggest they had witnessed weather balloons, atmospheric phenomena, or perhaps the planet Venus reflecting unusually brightly. The investigators themselves often had no knowledge of the U-2 program, making their explanations seem genuine even when they were inadequate. The geography of these sightings told a revealing story. Reports clustered along flight paths between Area 51 and other classified facilities, following the routes that U-2 pilots used for training missions and operational flights. The Midwest saw numerous sightings as aircraft traveled between Nevada and their ultimate destinations near the Soviet border. The pattern was clear to anyone with access to classified flight schedules, but that information remained locked away in the deepest vaults of government secrecy. For the pilots flying these missions, the irony was not lost. They knew they were the source of many UFO reports, yet they were sworn to absolute silence about their activities. Some found humor in the situation, joking privately about their role as unintentional extraterrestrials. Others felt the weight of the deception more heavily, understanding that their silence was contributing to a growing mythology that would persist long after their flights ended. The psychological impact on witnesses was profound and lasting. Commercial airline pilots who reported these sightings often faced skepticism from colleagues and superiors. Some were quietly reassigned or encouraged to seek psychological evaluation. The message was clear: reporting unusual aerial phenomena was not conducive to a successful aviation career. This unofficial policy of discouragement meant that many sightings went unreported, hidden away in the personal memories of those who witnessed them. As the U-2 program expanded through the late 1950s, so did the frequency of unexplained sightings. The aircraft's unique flight characteristics only added to the mystery. Unlike conventional planes, the U-2 could appear to hover motionless from a distance, especially when flying directly toward or away from an observer. Its ability to make sharp turns at high altitude created the impression of impossible maneuvers, defying the laws of physics as understood by those watching from below. The government's handling of these incidents established patterns that would persist for decades. Official denials were paired with unofficial encouragement of extraordinary explanations. The more outlandish the alternative theory, the better it served to deflect attention from classified aviation programs. UFO enthusiasts, seeking answers to genuine mysteries, found themselves unwittingly protecting some of America's most sensitive military secrets. By the early 1960s, The connection between U-2 flights and UFO sightings had become an open secret within certain intelligence circles. Internal CIA documents, declassified decades later, would reveal that agency analysts estimated more than half of all UFO reports during this period could be attributed to U-2 flights. The remaining reports presented a different kind of mystery, one that even the most knowledgeable insiders couldn't easily explain. The U-2 had accomplished something unprecedented. It had made the impossible seem routine while making the routine seem impossible. In the skies above America, reality and mythology had become inextricably intertwined, creating a legacy of confusion and wonder that would outlast the aircraft that inspired it. The seeds of modern UFO culture had been planted in the thin air, 70,000 feet above the Nevada desert, where truth and deception danced together in the brilliant blue silence of the stratosphere. As the 1960s dawned, the remote runways of Area 51 witnessed the birth of aircraft that pushed the boundaries of what seemed possible. The U-2 had proven the value of the secret facility, but new challenges demanded even more revolutionary solutions. The Soviet Union had developed surface-to-air missiles capable of reaching the U-2's cruising altitude, as demonstrated tragically when Gary Powers was shot down over Russia in 1960. America needed something faster, something that could outrun any missile and penetrate the most heavily defended airspace on Earth. The answer emerged from the brilliant mind of Kelly Johnson and his team at Lockheed Skunk Works. They called it the A-12 Oxcart, though it would later evolve into the more famous SR-71 Blackbird. This aircraft was unlike anything that had ever taken to the skies. Built from titanium and designed to cruise at speeds exceeding Mach 3, it resembled a sleek black dart more than a conventional airplane. Its very existence challenged every assumption about what aircraft could achieve. The first AE-12 arrived at Groom Lake in February 1962, transported in pieces and assembled in the desert under conditions of absolute secrecy. Test pilots who saw it for the first time struggled to believe it was real. The aircraft's radical design, with its sharp angles and delta wings, looked more like science fiction than aerospace engineering. When powered up, its twin ramjet engines created a sound unlike any conventional aircraft, a deep thunderous roar that seemed to shake the very mountains surrounding the test site. Early test flights revealed capabilities that bordered on the supernatural. The A-12 could accelerate from subsonic to supersonic speed in a matter of seconds, climbing to altitudes above 80,000 feet, while traveling at more than 3 times the speed of sound. From the ground, witnesses described seeing a dark shape streak across the sky, leaving contrails that seemed to appear and disappear like brushstrokes painted across the heavens. Workers at Area 51 during this period spoke in hushed tones about the strange phenomena they witnessed. The A-12's test flights often occurred at dawn or dusk, when atmospheric conditions were most favorable. During these twilight hours, the aircraft's exhaust would create spectacular light shows as superheated gases interacted with the thin upper atmosphere. Glowing trails would arc across the sky, pulsing with colors that had no earthly explanation for those who didn't know their true source. The psychological impact on personnel was profound. Even those with security clearances high enough to know about the A-12 program found themselves questioning what they witnessed during test flights. The aircraft's performance seemed to violate the laws of physics as they understood them. Watching it accelerate vertically into the sky or make impossibly tight turns at hypersonic speeds, experienced engineers and pilots began to wonder if they were witnessing technology that went beyond conventional aerospace design. Security around the A-12 program was even more intense than it had been for the U-2. The aircraft's revolutionary design incorporated materials and techniques that were decades ahead of their time. Titanium construction required new manufacturing processes developed specifically for the program. The aircraft's radar-absorbing properties, while primitive by later standards, represented the first steps toward true stealth technology. Every aspect of the program was compartmentalized, with workers knowing only what they needed to complete their specific tasks. As the A-12 program progressed through the mid-1960s, Area 51 became home to an even more ambitious project. The F-11-17 Nighthawk, developed under the codename Have Blue, would take stealth technology to unprecedented levels. Unlike the sleek curves of previous aircraft, the F-11-17 was composed entirely of flat, angular surfaces designed to scatter radar waves in harmless directions. To most observers, it looked like a crystalline sculpture rather than a flying machine. The first F-11-17 prototypes arrived at Groom Lake in the late 1970s, ushering in a new era of secrecy and speculation. These aircraft flew only at night, their black surfaces rendering them nearly invisible. against the dark desert sky. Witnesses who caught glimpses of the F-1117 during its test phase described seeing triangular or diamond-shaped objects that moved silently through the darkness, appearing and disappearing like ghostly apparitions. The contrast between the F-1117's appearance and conventional aircraft was so dramatic that even seasoned aviation professionals struggled to categorize what they were seeing. The aircraft's faceted surfaces created unusual light reflections that could make it appear to change shape or size depending on the viewing angle. Combined with its near-silent operation, the F-1117 seemed to defy not only radar detection but visual identification as well. Personnel accounts from this era reveal a facility where the extraordinary had become routine. Workers described seeing aircraft that looked like flying triangles, objects that could hover motionless before accelerating beyond the horizon, and craft that seemed to bend light around their surfaces. The line between experimental technology and science fiction had become so blurred that even those with the highest security clearances sometimes questioned the nature of what they were witnessing. The development of stealth technology at Area 51 created a feedback loop of innovation and secrecy. Each breakthrough led to new possibilities. Each new aircraft pushed the boundaries further than the last. The facility became a laboratory for the impossible, where engineers and test pilots worked together to transform concepts that existed only in imagination into machines that could dominate the skies. As these revolutionary aircraft took shape in the Nevada desert, their test flights continued to generate reports of unidentified flying objects from civilians and military personnel alike. The government's policy of denial and misdirection, established during the U-2 era, proved even more valuable as aircraft designs became increasingly exotic. The more advanced the technology became, the more its public exposure resembled encounters with vehicles from another world. By the early 1980s, Area 51 had evolved into something unprecedented in aviation history. It was no longer simply a test facility for conventional aircraft, but a proving ground for technologies that challenged fundamental assumptions about flight, stealth, and the limits of human engineering. The desert base had become a window into the future of aerospace technology, a future that looked increasingly indistinguishable from science fiction. In the late autumn of 1989, a shadow fell across the carefully maintained secrecy of Area 51. It came not from enemy satellites or foreign intelligence services, but from a single individual who stepped forward with claims so extraordinary they would forever change how the world perceived the Nevada desert facility. Robert Scott Lazar, a man whose background was as mysterious as his allegations, appeared on Las Vegas television station KLS with investigative reporter George Knapp to tell a story that defied belief. Sitting in shadow, his features obscured and his voice electronically altered, Lazar spoke with quiet conviction about his alleged employment at a facility he called S4. This installation, he claimed, was located southwest of the main Area 51 complex, hidden within the Papoose mountain range near Papoose Lake. Unlike the conventional aircraft testing that occurred at Groom Lake, S4 was dedicated to an entirely different purpose: the reverse engineering of extraterrestrial technology. According to Lazar's account, the facility housed 9 disc-shaped craft of non-human origin, each stored in individual hangars carved directly into the mountainside. The hangar doors, he explained, were disguised to blend seamlessly with the natural rock face, making them invisible to aerial reconnaissance. From the outside, S4 appeared to be nothing more than barren desert mountains. Inside, however, lay technology that challenged every assumption about physics and engineering. Lazar described his role as that of a physicist assigned to understand the propulsion system of one particular craft, which he referred to as the sport model. This vehicle, roughly 30 feet in diameter, possessed a smooth metallic surface that seemed to flow like liquid mercury. The craft had no visible seams, bolts, or conventional construction methods. Its interior was equally alien, with low ceilings and small seats that suggested it was designed for beings considerably shorter than humans. The propulsion system, as Lazar described it, operated on principles that seemed to violate known physics. At its heart was a reactor powered by an element that did not exist on Earth's periodic table, element 115. This substance, stable in the isotope allegedly found within the craft, could generate what Lazar termed gravity waves when properly energized. These waves were then focused and amplified by 3 gravity amplifiers positioned in a triangular configuration beneath the craft. Rather than pushing against air or expelling mass like conventional propulsion systems, the craft manipulated gravity itself. By creating a gravitational distortion field, the vehicle could essentially fall through space, bending the fabric of space-time around it. This would allow for the impossible maneuvers that witnesses had reported, instantaneous acceleration, 90-degree turns at high speed, and the ability to hover silently without any visible means of support. Lazar's technical descriptions were remarkably detailed and consistent. He spoke of waveguides that channeled the gravitational energy, of the reactor's ability to amplify gravity waves, and of the way the craft's orientation affected its flight characteristics. According to his account, the craft flew with its belly forward, using the gravity amplifiers to create a distortion field that pulled it through space rather than pushing it. The element 115 that powered these systems was, according to Lazar, provided to the craft's original builders by beings from the Zeta Reticuli star system. This information came from briefings he claimed to have received during his time at S4, documents that outlined not only the technical aspects of the craft but also their alleged origin and a history of human contact with their creators. Perhaps most disturbing was Lazar's description of the security and compartmentalization at S4. Workers were transported to the facility on unmarked aircraft with blacked-out windows, preventing them from determining the exact location. Once there, they underwent extensive background checks and polygraph examinations. Each individual had access only to information directly related to their specific assignment, creating a web of secrecy so complex that few people understood the full scope of the operation. Lazar claimed that his involvement with the SIG-4 ended abruptly when security personnel discovered he had brought friends to the desert to witness test flights of the craft. These unauthorized viewings, conducted from a distance using telescopes and cameras, represented a severe breach of security protocols. After being detained and questioned, Lazar found himself permanently excluded from the program, and he alleged, subjected to ongoing surveillance and harassment. The response to Lazar's revelations was immediate and polarized. UFO researchers embraced his testimony as vindication of decades of speculation about government involvement with extraterrestrial technology. Skeptics, however, quickly identified problems with his account. His claimed educational credentials from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and the California Institute of Technology could not be verified. Employment records from Los Alamos National Laboratory, where he said he had worked as a physicist, were incomplete and contradictory. Government officials and military personnel associated with Area 51 denied Lazar's claims entirely. They pointed out that no facility called S4 appeared on any official documentation, and that the security procedures he described were inconsistent with actual protocols at classified installations. The lack of physical evidence supporting his allegations further undermined his credibility in the eyes of mainstream scientists and journalists. Yet certain aspects of Lazar's account proved remarkably prescient. His description of hand scanners used for security access, considered fantastical in 1989, became commonplace in military installations within a few years. His references to element 115, which did not exist when he first spoke publicly, gained new significance when scientists successfully synthesized the element in 2003, though only in highly unstable forms that decayed within milliseconds. The geographical details Lazar provided about the Area 51 region also proved surprisingly accurate. Satellite imagery later confirmed the existence of facilities and road networks that matched his descriptions, though whether these represented the S4 complex he claimed to have worked at remained a matter of speculation. Lazar's allegations fundamentally altered the public perception of Area 51. What had previously been known primarily as a testing ground for experimental aircraft now became associated in popular culture with alien technology and government cover-ups. The facility's legitimate role in developing advanced military systems became overshadowed by speculation about extraterrestrial research programs. The lasting impact of Lazar's story lies not in its verifiability but in its persistence. For more than 3 decades his account has remained largely unchanged, told with the same technical detail and quiet conviction that characterized his original television appearance. Whether describing recovered alien technology or an elaborate disinformation campaign, his testimony opened a window into possibilities that continue to fascinate and disturb those who encounter them. Bob Lahr was not alone in his claims about extraordinary activities at Area 51. In the years following his 1989 television appearance, other voices began to emerge from the shadows, each carrying fragments of a larger puzzle that seemed to confirm elements of his testimony, while adding new layers of mystery to the Nevada facility's already complex legacy. Dan Burrish, who claimed to be a microbiologist with access to classified programs, spoke of encounters with extraterrestrial beings at underground facilities connected to Area 51. His accounts, delivered with the measured tone of a scientific professional, described ongoing biological research involving recovered alien specimens. According to Burish, these programs operated under levels of classification so deep that they existed outside normal government oversight, funded through black budget allocations that left no paper trail. Charles Hall, a former United States Air Force weather observer, brought forward testimony about his experiences at Nellis Air Force Base in the 1960s. His descriptions of encounters with beings he called tall whites painted a picture of ongoing contact between military personnel and non-human entities. Hall's accounts were particularly striking because of their mundane details, describing routine interactions and established protocols rather than dramatic first contact scenarios. Edgar Fushu, who claimed to have worked on classified aerospace projects, provided technical descriptions of advanced aircraft that seemed to bridge the gap between conventional military technology and the exotic propulsion systems described by Lazar. His testimony about triangular craft capable of anti-gravity flight added another dimension to the growing collection of insider accounts about Area 51's hidden activities. The consistency of certain details across these various testimonies was both compelling and troubling. Multiple witnesses described similar security procedures, underground facilities connected by tunnel systems, and compartmentalized programs that kept most personnel unaware of the broader scope of activities. The psychological profiles of these individuals also shared common elements: technical backgrounds, military or government experience, and a reluctant willingness to speak publicly despite obvious personal costs. What made these accounts particularly intriguing was the pattern of personal consequences that followed their public statements. Many witnesses reported harassment, surveillance, and professional difficulties that seemed designed to discredit their testimony and discourage others from speaking out. These experiences created a climate of fear that suggested something significant was indeed being protected at the Nevada facility. The psychological impact of carrying such extraordinary secrets became a recurring theme in witness testimony. Several individuals described the profound isolation that came with knowledge they could not share, the burden of seeing technology that challenged their understanding of reality, and the difficulty of maintaining normal relationships while harboring such extraordinary experiences. The compartmentalization that protected classified programs also created psychological compartments within the individuals involved, separating their public lives from their classified experiences. Military personnel who served at facilities near Area 51 provided additional corroboration for unusual activities in the region. Radar operators described tracking objects that performed maneuvers beyond the capabilities of known aircraft. Security guards reported encounters with craft that appeared and disappeared without explanation. Maintenance personnel spoke of working on equipment they could not identify, following procedures they did not understand for purposes that were never explained. The medical and psychological screening procedures described by multiple witnesses revealed the extent to which these programs affected those involved. Regular polygraph examinations, psychological evaluations, and medical monitoring suggested that participants were subjected to intense scrutiny throughout their involvement. Some witnesses reported memory difficulties and gaps in their recollection of specific events, raising questions about whether such effects were intentional or simply byproducts of extreme stress and compartmentalization. Families of alleged program participants also provided indirect confirmation of unusual circumstances surrounding their loved ones' work. Spouses described extended absences, sudden changes in behavior, and obvious stress related to classified activities their partners could never discuss. Children spoke of fathers who would disappear for weeks at a time, returning withdrawn and different, carrying burdens they could never share. The geographical clustering of witness accounts around the Nevada test site region provided another layer of credibility to their collective testimony. Individuals who claimed no knowledge of each other's experiences described similar locations, similar procedures, and similar phenomena. The consistency of these accounts across decades suggested either a remarkably coordinated hoax or genuine experiences with classified programs operating in the area. Perhaps most significantly, several witnesses described technology that seemed to anticipate later developments in mainstream science and engineering. References to directed energy weapons, advanced materials science, and exotic propulsion concepts appeared in testimony years before such technologies entered public awareness. This prescient quality of witness accounts suggested either remarkable imagination or genuine exposure to research programs far ahead of publicly acknowledged capabilities. The timing of various witness revelations also followed interesting patterns. Many individuals came forward during periods of increased public interest in UFO phenomena or government transparency, suggesting that cultural moments of openness provided windows of opportunity for those carrying heavy secrets. The personal courage required to speak publicly about such experiences cannot be understated, given the obvious professional and personal risks involved. The cumulative effect of these testimonies created a picture of Area 51 as more than simply a testing ground for advanced military aircraft. The consistent themes of exotic technology, non-human involvement, and extensive compartmentalization suggested programs operating at the very edges of human knowledge and capability. Whether these programs involved recovered alien technology, breakthrough human innovations, or sophisticated disinformation campaigns remained unclear. But the depth and consistency of witness testimony demanded serious consideration. The psychological cost of carrying such secrets became apparent in the later lives of many witnesses. Some struggled with substance abuse, others with depression and social isolation. The burden of extraordinary knowledge, combined with the impossibility of sharing that knowledge safely, created profound psychological pressures that manifested in various ways throughout their lives. As more voices joined the chorus of Area 51 witnesses, the facility's reputation evolved from that of a conventional military installation to something far more mysterious and significant. The accumulated testimony painted a picture of activities that challenged fundamental assumptions about technology, reality, and humanity's place in the universe, all hidden away in the vast silence of the Nevada desert. The first rule of approaching Area 51 is simple: don't. The second rule is that if you somehow miss the dozens of warning signs, cameras and sensors that ring the facility, you will quickly meet the enforcement arm of that first rule. They are known by many names, but most commonly as the Camo Dudes. Private security contractors whose job description reads like something from a dystopian novel: keep everyone out, watch everyone who tries, and make sure the desert keeps its secrets. These guards represent one of the most visible aspects of Area 51's security apparatus, yet they remain paradoxically invisible in official records. Employed by private contractors rather than the military directly, they operate in a legal grey area that allows them considerable latitude in protecting the facility's perimeter. Their white pickup trucks and SUVs patrol the boundaries of the restricted area constantly, emerging from hidden positions like desert phantoms whenever unauthorized visitors approach. The psychological warfare begins long before any direct confrontation. Warning signs appear miles from the actual facility boundaries, written in stark language that leaves no room for misinterpretation. Photography is prohibited, they declare. Use of deadly force authorized. These signs are not suggestions. They are statements of policy backed by federal law and enforced by individuals who take their responsibility seriously. The technology supporting these human guardians is extensive and sophisticated. Motion sensors buried in the desert floor can detect footsteps from considerable distances. Infrared cameras mounted on concealed towers provide night vision coverage of approach routes. Seismic detectors can distinguish between the footfalls of humans, animals, and vehicles, alerting security personnel to potential incursions before they become actual breaches. Encounters with the Camo Dudes follow predictable patterns that suggest extensive training and standardized procedures. Visitors who stray too close to the boundaries report being approached by uniformed personnel who emerge seemingly from nowhere, their vehicles having been concealed behind ridges or in camouflaged positions. The guards are typically polite, but firm, asking for identification and explaining the legal consequences of further approach. The psychological impact of these encounters extends far beyond their immediate effect. Many visitors describe feeling watched long before any guards appear, an unsettling sensation that suggests surveillance capabilities beyond what is immediately visible. The knowledge that every movement is being monitored and recorded creates a level of unease that serves as an effective deterrent to casual exploration. The legal framework supporting these security measures is both complex and comprehensive. The restricted airspace around Area 51 extends from ground level to unlimited altitude, creating a three-dimensional barrier that encompasses more than 5,000 square miles. Violations can result in federal charges, substantial fines, and confiscation of equipment. The penalties are severe enough to deter all but the most determined or foolish intruders. What makes the security presence particularly interesting is its apparent disproportion to the threat posed by casual visitors. The resources devoted to perimeter security suggest protection of assets far more valuable than conventional military aircraft testing would warrant. The elaborate surveillance network, the rapid response capabilities, and the sophisticated deterrent measures all point to activities requiring extraordinary protection from public scrutiny. The guards themselves often become subjects of speculation and amateur intelligence gathering. UFO researchers and conspiracy theorists attempt to identify the contracting companies, track personnel changes, and analyze equipment upgrades for clues about the facility's activities. This attention has led to a cat-and-mouse game between security forces and curious civilians that has persisted for decades. The psychological profile of individuals willing to work in such isolation, under such secrecy, and with such serious responsibilities, attracts attention from those studying the facility. These guards must undergo extensive background checks, maintain security clearances, and operate under strict protocols that govern their interactions with the public. The personal cost of such employment, including social isolation and the burden of protecting secrets, mirrors the experiences described by alleged facility workers. The evolution of security measures around Area 51 reflects changing threats and technologies over the decades. Early perimeter security relied heavily on distance and natural barriers. As public interest in the facility grew, particularly following the laser revelations, security became more sophisticated and visible. The current system represents a layered approach that begins with deterrence and escalates through detection, surveillance, and finally direct intervention. The contractors who employ these security personnel operate under classifications that make them nearly invisible to public scrutiny. The companies involved change periodically, making it difficult to track their activities or hold them accountable for their methods. This privatization of security functions allows the military to maintain plausible deniability about specific incidents, while ensuring robust protection of the facility. The presence of such extensive security measures creates its own form of advertisement for the facility's significance. The elaborate precautions taken to prevent public access serve as implicit confirmation that something important is being protected. This paradox has not been lost on those who study the facility, leading to speculation that the visible security apparatus serves multiple purposes, including misdirection and disinformation. The camo dudes have become cultural figures in their own right, appearing in documentaries, television shows, and online discussions about Area 51. Their distinctive uniforms, vehicles, and behavior patterns have been analyzed and catalogued by enthusiasts who track their activities with the dedication of field researchers. This attention has led to a feedback loop, where the guards themselves become part of the mystery they are meant to protect. The long-term psychological effects of working in such an environment deserve consideration. Guards spend their careers protecting secrets they may not fully understand, encountering visitors whose curiosity they cannot satisfy, and maintaining silence about activities they witness but cannot discuss. The personal toll of such employment, including the isolation and the burden of secrecy, reflects broader themes about the human cost of maintaining classified programs. The desert itself becomes complicit in this security theater, with its vast distances, extreme temperatures, and natural barriers serving as additional deterrents to casual exploration. The landscape around Area 51 is hostile to human presence, requiring preparation and determination that further reduce the number of potential intruders. Nature and technology work together to create a barrier that is both physical and psychological, protecting the facility's secrets through multiple layers of deterrence and detection. Every weekday morning at McCarran International Airport in Las Vegas, a peculiar ritual unfolds in a corner of the facility far from the tourist crowds and commercial flights. Workers carrying security badges and lunch boxes board unmarked aircraft painted in white with a distinctive red stripe. These planes bear no airline logos, no passenger windows, and no flight numbers visible to casual observers. They are operated by what is unofficially known as Janet Airlines, perhaps the most secretive commercial aviation operation in the world. The name Janet has spawned numerous theories about its origin. Some suggest it stands for just another non-existent terminal, while others believe it means Joint Air Network for employee transportation. The truth, as with most aspects of Area 51, remains classified, but the reality is more mundane than the speculation. Janet is simply the radio call sign used by these mysterious flights that ferry workers to classified facilities throughout the Nevada desert. The aircraft themselves are a mix of Boeing 737s and smaller Beechcraft 1900 aircraft, all painted in identical livery that makes them instantly recognizable to aviation enthusiasts. The larger aircraft can carry more than 100 passengers, while the smaller planes handle specialized routes or reduced passenger loads. Despite their civilian appearance, These aircraft operate under military authority and follow flight paths that take them deep into restricted airspace. Passengers on Janet flights describe an experience unlike any commercial aviation. The windows are blocked with shades that passengers are required to keep closed throughout the flight, preventing them from seeing their route or destination. Conversations are discouraged, and many passengers spend the flight in contemplative silence, reading newspapers or technical manuals. The flight attendants, if they can be called that, focus on safety rather than service, maintaining the serious atmosphere appropriate for transportation to classified facilities. The logistics of maintaining such an operation reveal the scale of activities at Area 51 and related facilities. Multiple flights depart Las Vegas every morning, suggesting a workforce numbering in the thousands. Return flights operate throughout the afternoon and evening, bringing workers back to Las Vegas at the end of their shifts. The regularity and frequency of these flights indicate ongoing operations that require substantial human resources and technical expertise. Security procedures for Janet passengers begin long before boarding. Workers must pass through multiple checkpoints, present specialized identification, and submit to additional screening beyond standard airport security. The terminal area used by Janet flights is separated from the main airport, with its own waiting areas, boarding gates, and access controls. Even the maintenance and fueling of Janet aircraft occurs in isolated areas away from public view. The psychological impact of this daily commute on workers cannot be understated. Imagine beginning each workday by boarding an unmarked aircraft, flying with covered windows to a destination you cannot discuss, then spending 8 to 12 hours at a facility whose very existence is classified. The return journey offers no opportunity to decompress or process the day's experiences with fellow passengers. The isolation begins with the commute and continues throughout the workday. Flight schedules reveal patterns that suggest different types of operations at various facilities. Some flights operate on standard weekday schedules, indicating routine administrative or maintenance activities. Others follow irregular patterns that might correspond to testing schedules or special projects. The flexibility of the Janet operation allows for rapid response to changing requirements at classified facilities throughout the region. The aircraft routing, while kept secret from passengers, can be partially tracked by aviation enthusiasts using flight tracking websites and radio communications. These flights typically head northwest from Las Vegas, following corridors that take them over the Nevada test site and surrounding restricted areas. The flight times suggest destinations at various distances from Las Vegas, indicating multiple facilities served by the Janet network. Pilots and crew members for Janet flights undergo extensive background investigations and maintain high-level security clearances. The specialized nature of their work, combined with the security requirements, creates a unique aviation community that operates largely separate from commercial aviation. These professionals must balance standard aviation safety requirements with the additional complexities of serving classified facilities and maintaining operational security. The existence of Janet Airlines serves as tangible proof of the scale and importance of activities at Area 51 and related facilities. An operation requiring dedicated airline service, specialized aircraft, and hundreds of daily passengers clearly involves more than casual experimentation or small-scale research projects. The infrastructure investment represented by Janet suggests long-term, high-priority programs that justify extraordinary expense and complexity. Families of Janet passengers often develop their own coping mechanisms for dealing with the secrecy surrounding their loved ones' work. Spouses learn not to ask about specific activities. Children grow up understanding that daddy or mummy goes to work at a place they can never visit or discuss. The ripple effects of classification extend far beyond the individual workers to encompass entire family networks bound by unofficial codes of silence. The economic impact of Janet operations on the Las Vegas area is substantial but largely invisible. The airline provides employment for pilots, mechanics, security personnel, and support staff. The daily influx of classified workers creates demand for housing, services, and amenities in the Las Vegas Valley. Yet this economic activity remains hidden within the broader tourism-based economy of southern Nevada. Modern technology has made Janet operations more visible to public scrutiny than ever before. Flight tracking applications, social media, and amateur aviation photography have documented many aspects of the operation that were previously unknown. This increased visibility has led to speculation about changes in flight patterns, aircraft assignments, and passenger loads that might indicate evolving activities at Area 51. The Janet Terminal at McCarran Airport has become a pilgrimage site for UFO enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists who gather to photograph aircraft and passengers. These activities have led to increased security measures and restrictions on public access to areas where Janet operations can be observed. The cat-and-mouse game between curious observers and security personnel reflects the broader tension between public interest and classified operations. As Area 51 continues to evolve in the 21st century, Janet Airlines remains a constant, a visible reminder that despite decades of speculation and partial disclosure, significant activities continue at the facility. The daily flights carrying their mysterious passengers into the Nevada desert ensure that whatever secrets lie hidden at Area 51, they are actively maintained by a workforce whose very commute embodies the paradox of operating the world's most famous secret base. The Cold War transformed Area 51 into something far more complex than a simple aircraft testing facility. As tensions escalated between superpowers, the remote Nevada base became a clearinghouse for foreign technology, a place where captured, stolen, or acquired aircraft from around the world were brought for detailed analysis and exploitation. This mission, known officially as the Foreign Technology Division's evaluation programs, created a cover story so perfect that it may have inadvertently provided the ideal explanation for far more extraordinary activities. The first major foreign aircraft to arrive at Groom Lake was a Soviet MiG-21 Fishbed, delivered through a complex intelligence operation in the mid-1960s. The aircraft had been provided by an Iraqi pilot who defected during a training flight, landing at an Israeli airbase with one of the Soviet Union's most advanced fighters. After careful negotiations between intelligence agencies, the MiG found its way to the Nevada desert, where American test pilots would learn its capabilities and limitations firsthand. Flying captured enemy aircraft presented unique challenges that pushed the boundaries of test pilot skills and engineering knowledge. The MiG-21's controls were labeled in Cyrillic script. Its systems operated according to Soviet design philosophy, and its performance characteristics differed dramatically from American aircraft. Test pilots had to essentially learn to think like Soviet pilots, understanding not just how the aircraft worked, but how it was intended to be used in combat. The psychological impact of flying enemy aircraft was profound and lasting. Pilots described the strange sensation of sitting in cockpits designed by adversaries, operating weapon systems intended to destroy American forces. The aircraft carried with them an almost tangible sense of hostile intent, their very existence a reminder of the deadly serious nature of the Cold War confrontation. Yet this intimacy with enemy technology provided invaluable insights that could mean the difference between victory and defeat in aerial combat. As the foreign technology program expanded, Area 51 became home to an extraordinary collection of aircraft from around the world. Soviet helicopters, Chinese fighters, and captured equipment from various conflicts found their way to the Nevada facility for evaluation. Each aircraft brought its own mysteries and challenges, requiring specialized maintenance procedures, unique spare parts, and pilots willing to risk their lives flying unfamiliar and potentially unreliable machines. The acquisition methods for foreign technology ranged from legitimate purchases to elaborate intelligence operations. Some aircraft were obtained through defections, others through third-party countries willing to provide access in exchange for intelligence sharing. Occasionally, wreckage from crashed foreign aircraft would be recovered and transported to Area 51 for analysis, with engineers attempting to reconstruct capabilities from fragments and debris. The secrecy surrounding these operations was absolute and necessary. The mere presence of foreign military aircraft at an American facility could trigger international incidents or reveal sensitive intelligence sources and methods. Workers at Area 51 during this period described seeing aircraft that officially didn't exist, flying in American airspace under circumstances that could never be acknowledged publicly. The technical intelligence gathered from foreign aircraft proved invaluable in developing countermeasures and improving American designs. Understanding the radar signatures of Soviet aircraft allowed for better stealth technology development. Analyzing foreign missile systems led to improved defensive capabilities. The knowledge gained from these programs influenced American aircraft design for decades, creating technological advantages that may have prevented conflicts or shortened those that did occur. The logistics of maintaining foreign aircraft at Area 51 created unique challenges that stretched the facility's capabilities. Soviet aircraft required different fuel types, specialized tools, and maintenance procedures that were often poorly documented or completely unknown. Spare parts had to be fabricated or acquired through complex intelligence operations. The entire enterprise required a level of improvisation and technical creativity that pushed engineers and mechanics to develop innovative solutions. The foreign technology mission provided perfect cover for other activities at Area 51 that might have attracted unwanted attention. Strange aircraft, unusual flight patterns, and exotic technology could all be explained away as foreign aircraft evaluation programs. This cover story was so compelling and verifiable that it may have inadvertently created the ideal explanation for activities that went far beyond conventional foreign technology analysis. The pilots and engineers involved in foreign technology programs developed a unique perspective on aviation and international relations. They gained intimate knowledge of adversary capabilities while working with technology that represented different approaches to similar problems. This exposure to foreign design philosophy and engineering solutions broadened their understanding of what was possible in aerospace technology, sometimes revealing capabilities that seemed impossible by American standards. The psychological warfare aspects of foreign technology acquisition extended beyond mere technical intelligence. The knowledge that American pilots were flying captured enemy aircraft created uncertainty among adversary forces about their own security and the effectiveness of their technology. The mere possibility that sensitive aircraft might be compromised forced foreign militaries to alter their operational procedures and accelerate their own technological development programs. As the foreign technology program evolved through the 1970s and 80s, Area 51 accumulated an unprecedented collection of aircraft representing the cutting edge of global aerospace technology. This collection included not only complete aircraft but also components, systems and materials that pushed the boundaries of known science and engineering. The facility became a repository of technological knowledge that spanned multiple countries and decades of development. The end of the Cold War did not diminish the importance of foreign technology acquisition. If anything, the proliferation of advanced military technology to smaller nations and non-state actors increased the need for comprehensive evaluation capabilities. Area 51 continued to receive aircraft and systems from around the world, each representing potential threats or opportunities for technological advancement. The long-term impact of foreign technology programs at Area 51 extends far beyond their immediate intelligence value. The technical knowledge gained from analyzing foreign aircraft influenced American aerospace development in ways that are still classified decades later. The innovative solutions developed to operate and maintain foreign technology contributed to advances in materials science, propulsion systems, and aircraft design that benefited both military and civilian aviation. Perhaps most significantly, the foreign technology mission established Area 51 as a facility capable of analyzing and understanding technology that operated according to unfamiliar principles and design philosophies. This institutional expertise in evaluating exotic aircraft and unusual technological approaches created capabilities that would prove valuable regardless of whether the technology being analyzed originated from foreign countries or somewhere far more distant and extraordinary. The year 2017 marked a watershed moment in the long history of government secrecy surrounding unidentified aerial phenomena, when the New York Times published its groundbreaking article revealing the existence of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. The carefully maintained wall of official denial began to crack. For the first time in decades, the Pentagon acknowledged that it had been seriously investigating encounters with objects that defied conventional explanation, and that some of these encounters had occurred in airspace controlled by facilities like Area 51. The revelation of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, known as AATIP, represented a fundamental shift in official policy. For 70 years, the government had maintained that UFO sightings were either misidentified conventional objects, natural phenomena, or the products of overactive imaginations. Now, senior defense officials were admitting that military personnel had encountered craft displaying flight characteristics beyond current human technology, and that these encounters posed potential national security implications. Luis Elizondo, the former director of AATIP, became the public face of this new era of cautious disclosure. His testimony before congressional committees and in media interviews revealed that the program had investigated hundreds of encounters between military personnel and unidentified aerial phenomena. These incidents involved objects that could accelerate instantaneously, change direction without inertia, and operate in ways that seemed to violate known laws of physics. The release of military videos showing encounters with these phenomena added visual evidence to decades of witness testimony. The Nimitz encounter from 2004, the gimbal video, and the FLIR footage showed objects that pilots described as defying conventional explanation. The craft in these videos displayed capabilities that aligned remarkably with descriptions provided by witnesses like Bob Lazar. 20 years earlier, silent operation, impossible maneuvers, and technology that seemed generations ahead of human capabilities. Congressional hearings on unidentified aerial phenomena brought the subject into the halls of official power in ways not seen since the 1960s. Senators and representatives asked pointed questions about government knowledge of advanced technology, the possibility of foreign adversaries possessing breakthrough capabilities, and the potential for non-human intelligence. The questions themselves represented a dramatic evolution in official willingness to discuss topics that had been taboo for decades. The establishment of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AAO, signaled the government's commitment to systematic investigation of unidentified phenomena. This office, with official mandate and funding, represented the most serious government effort to understand these encounters since Project Blue Book ended in 1969. The creation of RO suggested that whatever was being observed in American airspace warranted ongoing professional investigation. Intelligence community assessments released to the public acknowledged that some encounters could not be explained by known technology or natural phenomena. These carefully worded admissions represented the closest thing to official confirmation that the government had encountered technology beyond current human capabilities. The assessments stopped short of speculating about origins, but they clearly stated that conventional explanations were inadequate for some incidents. The partial disclosure created as many questions as it answered. If the government was now acknowledging encounters with advanced technology, what about the decades of previous encounters that had been denied or debunked? If official policy had been to discourage reporting of such incidents, how many encounters had gone undocumented? Most significantly, if these capabilities existed and were being encountered regularly, what did that mean for facilities like Area 51 that had been the focus of speculation about advanced technology for decades? Former military personnel began speaking publicly about encounters that would have ended their careers just years earlier. Pilots, radar operators, and security personnel shared accounts of incidents that had been classified or dismissed for decades. The cultural shift toward acknowledgement created space for testimony that revealed patterns of encounters spanning multiple decades and involving numerous military installations, including facilities in the Nevada desert. The technological implications of the acknowledged encounters raised profound questions about the relationship between observed phenomena and programs at facilities like Area 51. If objects displaying impossible flight characteristics were being encountered regularly, was it possible that some of this technology had been recovered and studied? The government's acknowledgement of advanced capabilities seemed to validate decades of speculation about reverse engineering programs and exotic technology research. The disclosure process itself revealed the complexity of government knowledge and the challenges of revealing classified information. Officials spoke carefully about what they could confirm publicly, while clearly indicating that much more information remained classified. The tension between transparency and national security created a dynamic where partial truths raised more questions than they answered. Scientific institutions began taking the phenomenon seriously in ways that would have been unthinkable just years earlier. Harvard astronomers, former NASA officials, and prominent physicists called for rigorous scientific investigation of encounters that might represent breakthrough technology or even non-human intelligence. The academic legitimacy of the subject marked a dramatic departure from decades of scientific dismissal. The international dimension of disclosure added another layer of complexity to the evolving narrative. Other countries began acknowledging their own encounters with unidentified phenomena, suggesting a global pattern of incidents involving advanced technology. The coordination of disclosure efforts across multiple nations indicated that the phenomenon was being taken seriously at the highest levels of government worldwide. The relationship between current disclosure and historical incidents at Area 51 remained tantalizingly unclear. Officials acknowledged that some encounters occurred in restricted airspace around classified facilities, but they provided no details about the relationship between observed phenomena and on-government programs. The possibility that decades of speculation about Area 51 might be partially validated by official acknowledgement of advanced technology remained an open question. The psychological impact of partial disclosure on those who had reported encounters decades earlier was profound and complex. Witnesses who had been dismissed or ridiculed found their accounts suddenly relevant to official investigations. The cultural shift toward acknowledgement validated experiences that had been marginalized for decades, while raising questions about what other testimony might deserve reconsideration. The continuing classification of most government information about these encounters ensured that disclosure remained incomplete and unsatisfying. While officials acknowledged the reality of encounters with advanced technology, they provided few details about the nature of that technology, its origins, or the government's understanding of its capabilities. The careful balance between acknowledgement and secrecy suggested that much more significant information remained hidden. The evolution from denial to cautious acknowledgement represented a fundamental shift in the government's approach to unidentified phenomena, but it also highlighted how much remained unknown or classified. The partial lifting of the veil revealed enough to confirm that something extraordinary had been occurring in American airspace, while leaving the most important questions unanswered. In the shadows of that incomplete disclosure, facilities like Area 51 retained their mysterious significance, no longer as sources of complete denial, but as potential repositories of answers that remained tantalizingly out of reach. Along the dusty roads that lead toward the forbidden boundaries of Area 51, a peculiar community has taken root over the decades. They gather at overlooks with telescopes and cameras, at roadside diners sharing stories and theories, and in online forums where pixels and speculation merge into digital folklore. These are the watchers, the believers, and the skeptics, who have made the Nevada desert their laboratory for understanding the unknown. The little town of Rachel, Nevada, population fewer than 50, has become an unlikely pilgrimage destination for those seeking answers about Area 51. The Little Milan, a combination restaurant, bar, and gift shop, serves as unofficial headquarters for this community of searchers. Its walls are covered with photographs of strange lights, testimonials from visitors, and newspaper clippings documenting decades of unexplained phenomena in the region. The believers come from all walks of life, united by experiences they struggle to explain, or questions they cannot abandon. Some are former military personnel who witnessed things during their service that official explanations could not adequately address. Others are civilians who observed unusual aircraft or lights behaving in ways that defied conventional understanding. Many are simply curious individuals drawn by the possibility that humanity might not be alone in the universe. Among the most dedicated are the night watchers, individuals who spend countless hours scanning the skies around Area 51 with high-powered telescopes and night vision equipment. They know the flight patterns of conventional aircraft, the behavior of satellites, and the appearance of planets and stars under different atmospheric conditions. When they report seeing something unusual, their observations carry the weight of experience and careful observation. Dr. Roger Lair, a podiatric surgeon who became fascinated with alleged alien implants, represented the attempt to bring scientific methodology to extraordinary claims. His analysis of metallic objects removed from individuals who claimed alien contact sparked debates about the nature of evidence and the standards required for scientific acceptance. Though his conclusions remained controversial, his approach demonstrated the desire to subject unusual phenomena to rigorous investigation. The skeptical community has produced equally dedicated researchers who approach Area 51 mysteries from a different perspective. Aviation experts like Peter Merlin have spent decades documenting the legitimate aircraft programs that operated from the facility, providing conventional explanations for many sightings that were attributed to extraterrestrial activity. Their research reveals the remarkable history of experimental aircraft development that created genuine mysteries without requiring extraordinary explanations. Glenn Campbell, who styled himself as the Area 51 Research Center, became a prominent figure in both documenting and debunking claims about the facility. His maps of the restricted area, his analysis of government security procedures, and his systematic approach to investigating claims provided a model for serious research into the facility's activities. Campbell's work demonstrated that rigorous investigation could reveal significant information about classified programs without resorting to sensational speculation. The scientific community's approach to Area 51 phenomena has evolved significantly over the decades. Early dismissal of all unusual reports has given way to more nuanced analysis that distinguishes between claims with potential merit and those lacking credible evidence. Researchers like Dr. Jacques Vallée have applied systematic methodology to the study of unidentified aerial phenomena, seeking patterns and data that might reveal underlying causes. The advent of sophisticated recording equipment has transformed the nature of evidence available to both believers and skeptics. High-definition cameras, digital sensors, and spectrum analysis equipment allow for detailed documentation of unusual phenomena in ways that were impossible during earlier decades. This technological advancement has raised the bar for both making and evaluating extraordinary claims. The psychological aspects of belief and skepticism around Area 51 provide fascinating insights into how humans process information that challenges established worldviews. Believers often describe a gradual process of awakening to possibilities they had never considered, while skeptics emphasize the importance of maintaining critical thinking in the face of emotionally compelling narratives. Both groups demonstrate genuine passion for understanding truth, though they differ in their evaluation of evidence and methodology. Social media and internet forums have created global communities centered around Area 51 research and speculation. These platforms allow for rapid sharing of information, collaborative analysis of evidence, and real-time discussion of developments. However, they also facilitate the spread of misinformation and the creation of echo chambers where unsubstantiated claims can gain credibility through repetition rather than verification. The generational differences among Area 51 researchers reflect broader changes in society's relationship with authority and information. Older researchers often emphasize personal testimony and government documents obtained through Freedom of Information Act requests. Younger investigators gravitate toward digital analysis, satellite imagery, and crowdsourced research methods that leverage technology and collective intelligence. The economic impact of Area 51 tourism and research activity has created interesting incentives and conflicts within the community. Local businesses benefit from the steady stream of visitors seeking information about the facility, while serious researchers sometimes struggle to maintain credibility amid commercial exploitation of the subject. The tension between genuine investigation and entertainment reflects broader challenges in separating substance from spectacle. The legal and ethical dimensions of Area 51 research raise important questions about the boundaries between legitimate public interest and respect for national security. Researchers must navigate complex regulations about airspace, photography, and access to government information while pursuing their investigations. The balance between transparency and security creates ongoing tensions that affect how research is conducted and information is shared. The international perspective on Area 51 phenomena adds another layer of complexity to the believer-skeptic dynamic. Foreign researchers and government officials sometimes view American secrecy around the facility with suspicion, wondering whether denials of extraordinary activities mask genuine technological breakthroughs. This international dimension highlights how secrecy itself can become a source of speculation and intense theories. The long-term dedication of many Area 51 researchers, regardless of their conclusions, demonstrates the profound human need to understand mysteries and seek truth. Whether motivated by belief in extraordinary possibilities or commitment to scientific rigor, these individuals invest significant time and resources in pursuing answers to questions that may never be fully resolved. The relationship between believers and skeptics in the Area 51 community often transcends simple opposition. Many researchers maintain friendships and collaborative relationships across ideological divides, united by shared curiosity and respect for careful investigation. This collegial approach suggests that the search for truth can bridge differences in worldview and methodology. As new generations discover the mysteries surrounding Area 51, the community of researchers continues to evolve. Fresh perspectives, improved technology, and changing cultural attitudes toward government secrecy and extraterrestrial possibilities ensure that the conversation about Area 51 remains dynamic and engaging. The enduring appeal of the facility as a focus for human curiosity suggests that regardless of what secrets it may or may not contain, it will continue to inspire those who refuse to accept that some questions are beyond human understanding. The digital age has transformed how we observe and analyze Area 51. Yet the facility continues to generate new mysteries that challenge our understanding of what remains hidden in the Nevada desert. Satellite imagery, once the exclusive domain of intelligence agencies, now allows civilian researchers to monitor construction projects, track aircraft movements, and document changes to the facility that would have been invisible to previous generations of investigators. Commercial satellite services, like Google Earth and Planet Labs, provide regular updates showing ongoing expansion at the Groom Lake facility. New hangars appear, runways are extended, and support buildings multiply across the desert landscape. The scale of construction suggests programs requiring substantial infrastructure investments, indicating that whatever activities occur at Area 51, they remain significant enough to justify continued expansion and modernization. The most intriguing recent developments involve massive hangar construction that dwarfs previous buildings at the facility. These structures, some large enough to house multiple commercial aircraft, suggest programs involving technology of unprecedented size or complexity. The careful timing of construction activities, often coordinated to avoid satellite passes, reveals sophisticated operational security that adapts to modern surveillance capabilities. Aviation enthusiasts using flight tracking applications have documented increased activity around Area 51 in recent years, with more frequent arrivals and departures of both known and unidentified aircraft. The proliferation of automatic dependent surveillance systems has made it harder for aircraft to operate completely undetected, forcing facility operations to adapt to an environment where amateur observers can track flights with remarkable precision. Recent sightings near Area 51 have taken on new characteristics that distinguish them from historical reports. Witnesses describe formations of lights that appear to communicate with each other, objects that seem to respond to human presence, and craft that display behaviors suggesting artificial intelligence rather than human piloting. These observations, if accurate, suggest technological capabilities that exceed even speculative projections of current human development. The emergence of drone technology has created both new possibilities and new challenges for Area 51 operations. Consumer drones, equipped with high-definition cameras, theoretically could penetrate restricted airspace and document activities at the facility, though such intrusions would violate federal law and likely trigger rapid response from security forces. The threat of drone surveillance has forced facility operators to develop new countermeasures and detection systems. Social media platforms have amplified both legitimate research and unfounded speculation about Area 51, creating an information environment where credible analysis competes with sensational claims for public attention. The viral nature of social media content means that unverified footage or questionable testimonies can reach global audiences before they can be properly evaluated, complicating efforts to separate genuine mysteries from digital artifacts or deliberate hoaxes. The integration of artificial intelligence and machine learning into military systems raises questions about whether some unexplained phenomena around Area 51 might represent tests of autonomous aircraft or weapons systems. The capabilities of AI-controlled vehicles could easily account for flight patterns and behaviors that seem impossible for human-piloted craft, suggesting that some modern mysteries might have terrestrial explanations that are simply ahead of public understanding. Advances in materials science and propulsion technology in the civilian sector have begun to approximate some capabilities that were once considered impossible. Electric vertical takeoff aircraft, advanced composite materials, and experimental propulsion concepts demonstrate that the gap between science fiction and engineering reality continues to narrow, potentially explaining some phenomena without requiring extraordinary origins. The increasing militarization of space has created new contexts for understanding activities at Area 51. As orbital warfare capabilities become more important to national security, the facility's role may be evolving to support space-based operations or technologies designed to operate in the space environment. This expansion of mission scope could account for new types of activities and technologies being developed at the facility. Climate change and environmental monitoring have introduced new variables into Area 51 research. Changing weather patterns, increased wildfire activity, and evolving atmospheric conditions affect both visibility and the behavior of conventional aircraft, potentially creating new sources of unusual sightings that have natural rather than technological explanation. The next generation of military aircraft, including the B-21 Raider stealth bomber and various unmanned systems, likely underwent testing at Area 51 before becoming publicly acknowledged. The progression from secret development to public revelation provides insights into the timeline between breakthrough technology and official disclosure, suggesting that current mysteries might represent systems that will be revealed decades in the future. International competition in aerospace technology has intensified, with multiple countries developing hypersonic vehicles, stealth aircraft, and exotic propulsion concepts. Some phenomena observed around Area 51 might represent testing of countermeasures against foreign advanced technology or evaluation of captured systems from international competitors. The growing commercial space industry has created new opportunities for both legitimate business activities and cover stories for classified programs. Private companies launching satellites, testing spacecraft, and developing space-based manufacturing could provide explanations for unusual activities, while also serving as fronts for more sensitive government operations. Quantum technology research, including quantum computing, quantum sensors, and theoretical quantum propulsion concepts, represents a frontier of science that could produce capabilities that seem impossible by current standards. If such research is being conducted at Area 51, it might account for phenomena that appear to violate known physics, while actually representing breakthrough applications of quantum principles. The psychological and sociological aspects of modern mystery formation around Area 51 reflect broader changes in how society processes information and forms beliefs. The democratization of information through the internet has created more sophisticated researchers, while also enabling more elaborate conspiracy theories, making it increasingly difficult to distinguish credible analysis from creative speculation. The future of Area 51 likely involves continued evolution in response to emerging threats, new technologies, and changing strategic requirements. As artificial intelligence, hypersonic flight, space warfare, and quantum technologies mature, the facility will probably adapt to support development and testing of systems that currently exist only in theoretical form. The enduring nature of mysteries surrounding Area 51 suggests that regardless of what specific technologies or programs the facility houses, its fundamental role as a testing ground for the cutting edge of human capability will persist. Future observers will likely encounter phenomena that challenge their understanding, just as current mysteries challenge ours, perpetuating the cycle of speculation and investigation that has characterized the facility for decades. The convergence of advancing technology and persistent secrecy ensures that Area 51 will continue generating questions faster than it provides answers, maintaining its position as a focal point for human curiosity about the boundaries between the possible and the impossible. As the first light of dawn touches the mountains surrounding Area 51, casting long shadows across the desert floor, we find ourselves at the end of our journey into one of the most enigmatic places on Earth. The facility sits silent in the morning stillness, its runways empty, its hangars sealed, its secrets intact. Area 51 represents something larger than any single facility or program. It embodies the eternal tension between humanity's need to know and the requirements of security, between our hunger for truth and the necessities of protection. In its restricted airspace and classified activities, we see reflected our own limitations and possibilities. The desert around Area 51 has witnessed decades of human ambition and ingenuity, from the graceful U-2 gliding through the stratosphere to whatever exotic technologies may currently be under development behind its security perimeters. Each era has brought new capabilities that seemed impossible to previous generations. Perhaps the most profound lesson of Area 51 is that mystery itself has value. In a world increasingly mapped and measured, the existence of places that resist easy categorization serves an important purpose. They remind us that wonder still has a place in human experience. The horizon stretches endlessly in all directions from Area 51, just as it has for millions of years. But that horizon now carries different meanings than it did before humans learned to fly, before we developed technologies that seem like magic. As you settle into sleep tonight, let the mysteries of Area 51 remind you that the universe is vast, strange, and full of possibilities we have yet to imagine. The desert keeps its secrets, but it also keeps its promises that there will always be more to discover. Good night.